What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data Dash, and today is October 2nd of 2020. Well, folks, I hope you all are having a fantastic day wherever you are, and in today's video, we are going to dive into the news that everyone is concerned about at the moment, and that is the charges by the CFTC against BitMex, one of the major financial regulators of the United States, coming over and claiming that BitMex is basically responsible for committing a variety of different crimes, such as servicing U.S. traders openly, and along with that as well, potentially engaging in money laundering. So I want to go ahead and detail these, and I hope you guys will stick with me. I'm a bit stuffed up today, but let's go ahead and actually dive right into it. So the first thing that I think everyone is concerned about before we even dive into the details is, Nick, is this a death sentence for Bitcoin? Is this something that's going to cause a 30-40% correction? In my opinion, guys, again, anything can happen in these markets. No. I have not moved any of my Bitcoin positions. I have not en masse sold my cryptocurrency positions. I haven't done anything really in the short term, actually, over the last 48, 72 hours. I can't recall any trades or positions. So keep that in mind here. That's some good news. And I'll explain as we go throughout this why I feel that way and why I'm not panicking. So we'll come back to the chart here later on. There's actually the longer term perspective, which I want to dive to in a bit. This is the short term chart. If you look at it on the 5-minute, 10-minute, 15, 30-minute chart, you're going to see this big drop here with, for example, on an average exchange, 2 to 4K Bitcoin being sold within, 5, 10 minutes or, maybe like an hour window or something. And you'll see the price is still hanging relatively low. We'll come back to this, okay? So, as I mentioned here, the headlines are mainly focusing in on BitMex's allegations of potentially, not just as a company, but mainly its 4 kind of founding members who basically might have engaged in money laundering. So let's go here to the actual report from the Southern District of New York. Here's an actual article that just kind of gives a brief summary of some of the thoughts from the CFTC and some of the claims. But here's the actual filing here. This is the actual indictment here that claims, who they're going against. It's Arthur Hayes, Benjamin Dello, Samuel Reed, and Gregory Dwyer. Now, if you go through this here, he basically talks about how these are basically 3 of the founding members of the company with one of the first founding employees, in this case, who are being held responsible, BitMex. But as you go throughout here, it's pretty clear, as much as this document can look kind of overwhelming, as a lot of these, government documents tend to do, they tend to give off this, guise of, oh my God, there's so many pages, there's this, that. Well, most of it's actually summarized here at the beginning. So let's go ahead and talk about those. Since its launch in November 2014 and continuing up to the included present, BitMex has actively sought to, and has in fact, served thousands of customers located in the United States, even after perpetually withdrawing from the U.S. market and or about September 2015. This right here, I agree with wholeheartedly. Whether you agree it's a right thing or not for BitMex to be censored from serving U.S. customers, in this case, they have been doing this, and they've been probably knowingly doing this to a high degree. I can, again, I don't know them personally, but I've met many of you in the community who either yourselves or people out there who I have no idea who you are and stuff have basically engaged in BitMex, even though I've tried to scream to the roof to tell you guys not to engage with leverage trading platforms, A, because of regulation reasons in the sense of the excessive margin, and along with that as well, in the sense that, most people are going to lose trading with margin in crypto, but I digress. The second point here, which is actually the third point on here, is that by engaging in the foregoing activities, BitMex has at all relevant times been a futures commission merchant, FCM, required to comply with the Bank Secrecy Act. So, the BSA in this case, very big piece of financial legislation, especially when it comes to futures platforms, right? Futures markets are massive. They're just as big, and I've emphasized this and why this is, people craving leverage in the short term and trying to make major gains in a very short period of time. This kind of speculative gambling nature is actually terrible for crypto price discovery because we have less of that volume coming into the real market on spot markets that actually drives Bitcoin's price up. So, anyways, just wanted to talk about that. And again, you can see here, these are the 4 individuals that are really being charged here. This is, again, as you can kind of take it as a broad charge against BitMex, but this is really about the founding members knowingly engaging. They're really pinpointing here who's engaged in this activity. So these are the major 2 things here, right? There's a few other things, the biggest one here being that they did not implement standard AML compliance, anti-money laundering compliance, and this kind of plays into possibly a third point here. which is why the headlines are charging them of basically money laundering, right? So above all, right, let's just go ahead and dive in through some of the different perspectives here. I want to go ahead and first share my perspective because you guys are here watching my videos, so I thought I might as well go ahead and give it. And I'll continue to build on it as we go throughout this. So as I already hinted to earlier, I've already talked extremely bad about BitMex, the platforms in the past. I really, honestly, I think Arthur Hayes, he's a charismatic guy, but quite frankly, I don't really look up to Arthur Hayes. I don't look up to people who participate in, basically leverage trading, at least to the extent of 50 to 100x margin. I think that when you start to get into that kind of ballpark, it tends to be usually like you have the 3 to 5% margin exchanges of the world, and then you have the 100x margins of the world. I understand, as someone who even comes more from like a kind of libertarian perspective on these types of things, I understand where people can come from and say, Nick, isn't it someone's choice to go out there and go do these things? And quite frankly, yeah, I do hold that position. But at the same time, when you offer these types of platforms, which already are going to probably leave someone worse off, right? Even if it's a DEX platform, right? It's going to probably exist. There will always be speculators and gamblers. My problem does not lie with the 5100x margin. Right? I think it's in poor taste. My problem lies in the fact that BitMex for years got away with insider trading, with their insider trading desk at their company, and also other leverage trading platforms do this. But BitMex to a very high degree. There's so many bit something exchanges. BitMex had done this for a very long time, trading against their own users, and they basically have a direct incentive for liquidations of the platform. So anyways, again, I think above all, this is the stuff that I don't like. Just knowingly kind of, basically going through and, not just servicing outside markets, but willfully in a sense, almost servicing U.S. clients. It was just too simple to set up an account. So anyways, just wanted to put that out there. I think it's a very important thing as to why I feel the way I do about BitMex. And also I just think, again, leverage trading platforms are something that someone should stay away from, whether or not they're inherently evil or good. I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about some different perspectives here. For some data metrics here, a lot of people, the reason a lot of people are worried for Bitcoin here is they think, oh my God, BitMex is going to run away with the money, they're going to sell it all, or they're just going to steal people's funds, and that's going to remove a lot of trust from Bitcoin. Well, actually, withdrawals have been working just like they have before. Even with the CFTC's charge, people have actually been able to withdraw their Bitcoin quite smoothly. Since back here in August or late July, we can see here that ever since we had our secondary peak here from back here in early March, right, we had the major sell-off and mass liquidation, right, we've gone from about 150 Bitcoin, 150K Bitcoin, down to around 110,000 Bitcoin, down to 61.8 thousand Bitcoin. And there's actually an updated chart here where ever since the news came out the other night, that has actually continued to drop even more. It's gone from around 54,000 Bitcoin down to 45,000. And we can actually see here that one thing that's important to take away is not only that the withdrawals are happening functionally, which I gotta say, as much as I dislike BitMex as a platform, hats off to Arthur and everyone for continuing to keep things going. The U.S. authorities here have actually left some pretty positive remarks for crypto in this case. For example, Dan Tapiero pointed out that the CFTC stated cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin holds great promise for our economy, hopes that the U.S. becomes a global leader in the space, that new financial products flourish with market integrity. So this is really exciting to see here. This is a little kind of positive sign that I think no one's pointing out, and I really want to give hats off to Dan for that. I think that's a really good perspective to have, is that we actually are seeing out of all organizations that the CFTC and also the SEC have actually taken very good stances on crypto for the most part. They've been they've kind of been poking ICOs that either willfully broke the law and tried to raise from U.S. consumers, as much as I disagree with that, right? But along with that as well, the other thing as well that's important to realize is that they've gone after the obvious scam ICOs. They're going after the exchanges that are kind of the Seychelles companies, offshore, out of the reach of the U.S. government, where they think they're out of the reach in this case. But when you involve U.S. customers, it's a different picture, right? Again, and whether or not you agree or disagree with that, it's the law. Guys, we have to understand that. We can sit here and scream to the roof, and there's some things I definitely probably disagree with the approach of the SEC or the CFTC. It doesn't matter, though. It's the law, right? and we got to go about contacting our legislative representatives and actually pushing for something like this to basically open up the market for these. And luckily, things are getting better, I think, overall. As we've seen with equity crowdfunding, the limits are starting to get larger. At least the SEC is exploring that, and also the support for kind of crypto innovation has actually gotten much better than I think many of us would have thought 3 or 4 years ago. Another thing that Joseph Young posted out, BitMex, it was charged during this case, and also there's some news here we'll talk about Trump contracting COVID-19 alongside the First Lady Melania, and Bitcoin couldn't even dip below 10K. And this is my summary here that I want to go ahead and talk about, because as we've seen the developments come out of this news here, as much as this can be seen as very concerning, what I want to focus on here is taking a look at the daily chart. When we take a look at this chart here, with this disastrous news apparently from the headlines, from the general kind of sentiment of the emotional side of crypto Twitter, we're actually holding pretty good. Volume's relatively thin on spot markets. News like this used to be much more kind of reactive for crypto markets, but now we're still holding this golden line of support that's been holding ever since back here in May of 2020. Now, could it be broken? Yes, it could be broken. But the potential leverage that this news has of being a negative on Bitcoin is starting to thin out, because BitMex is losing Bitcoin at a pretty rapid rate. As we mentioned, we're down to around 40,000 Bitcoin now, which, if were to be entirely dumped across the market right now, really actually probably wouldn't even push us below 10K, bear in mind, right? And that's considering they would be selling on a spot market, which I don't think would be the case. But along with this as well, Arthur and the team have actually claimed that they are letting withdrawals happen as normal, that they're aware of this news, and that quite frankly they don't agree with the stance of the CFTC, and they're going to be taking a case against them. And above all the things that I've said that are negative, I actually really appreciate this, and I appreciate that they're going through the process, and if they stick to their word, we'll see what happens through it. And if they are able to stand up against the CFTC and against the allegations that were made against them, then so be it. And that they allow this smooth transition for people to move in and out, I think that is fantastic, above all, because people are more concerned than anything about their money. And that's really something that I didn't expect from BitMex, I have to be honest with you all. So anyways, I get a lot of positive, negative things to say. Right? I just generally don't even like the space. I'm tired of having to talk about it and having to worry to any degree that BitMex or Bybit or the dozens of other derivatives platforms in this space that give you too much excessive margin. Please, guys, I can't give you financial advice. Stay away from this, though. Stay away from it. It's not financial advice. It's personal advice for your sanity, for the simple nature that these platforms have no incentive to work in your better interest. And what might sound great to possibly 20, 50, 100x your profits really ends up being that if the market drops 1, 2, or 5%, you can lose everything. And there are so many people who have to go through this process of getting burned. If you can go ahead and trust me to some degree, or at least hear me out on this, right? Or maybe, more than anything, if you go out and do that, first off, make sure you can legally do it, but put in something like 50 or 100 bucks. Give it a go, and you'll see that these platforms do not care about you. They have every incentive to put you out of business. It's very, very upsetting. So that's the thing I always say. That's my problem here in this case. And to be fair, I don't blame Arthur or the team for it. Someone's going to make a business out of it, right? But that's where I guess you have a balance of regulators, you have a balance of people like me coming in and basically stating that, this is not something to kind of gamble with in a sense or engage in. So anyways, all right, last few things I want to talk about here, guys. Obviously, we talked about price and the news. Last few things I want to talk about. This is the last day to participate in the DigiFox WeFunder. We have less than 14 hours and 26 minutes here. So if you're interested in participating, please join us. We've had around, there's actually 20K that's not being counted here. So we have around $623,000 right now committed, which is really excited. It's got me really excited. And I'm really hoping, above all, I don't care how much we really raise, I want to get over that 1,000 investor threshold to really kind of speak to the community nature of how we're raising for the startup. One other thing as well, again, it's the start of the month here, guys. We just released a fresh Dash report. If you're interested in registering, it's down below in the description. We did a lot of interesting topics that we covered. We did a really interesting crypto market article to talk about the next major on-ramp into the cryptocurrency space, and it's not a Bitcoin ETF. Along with that as well, we also dived into commodity markets, talking about the Federal Reserve and central bank monetary policy and the signs of the market that are showcasing to us our feelings on gold and silver. And along with that as well, when it comes to equity markets, talking about the new normal and talking about what's going on in regards to kind of the innovative industries that are leading the way. There's one specific industry that I'm very, very excited about. So you can find it on the Dash Report. It's a way to support the channel. Again, you won't miss out on everything if you don't subscribe to it. I'm not one of those people who say you have to get it, but it's a great way to support the channel. If you're like me, you kind of like trading in different markets and getting a macro perspective, it might just be for you. So you can find that down below in the description. And signing up for an annual will actually give you a discount. But one last thing I wanted to talk about is the futures. Well, futures have actually gotten a little bit better. It used to be the U.S. Tech 100 was around like negative 2 point something % last time I actually opened this, just about 30 minutes ago. But all in all, futures markets are reacting relatively negative to the news here. Above all, guys, I think that this is a bit of an overreaction. I think more than anything, this really isn't the market reacting to the news about Trump and Melania getting COVID. That's something probably much greater, which is that we just set in a lower high for equity markets on broader indexes or the broader indices. So all in all, I just want to say to the First Lady and to the President, as I would wish with everyone, I hope they have a speedy recovery. COVID has been pretty wild, guys. If we really just think back over the last, not even full year, a little over half a year. I mean, the world has been, actually, I'd say it's been a half year if you consider February, but the world has been completely changed by this. And I know we get kind of tired of hearing about it, but it's incredible to see the effects of this continuing to ripple months after and probably into the next few years. But all in all, I think the crypto is going to be a perfect hedge in this environment. It's going to be something that we can look towards at a time of monetary instability, not against the virus itself, but the monetary policy that central banks propose. Anyways, I would like to hear you guys' thoughts on all of what we discussed today. I've ranted and raved, rambled on. I'd like to hear from you all down below. And if you like this video, please drop a like, leave a comment. Helps out the channel, helps get engagement going. And along with that as well, consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon. And if you're not receiving notifications, let me know down in the comments down below. We've had some users reporting that. So anyways, hope you're all having a fantastic day wherever you are, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.